Today we're looking at Shays Rebellion. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out the description for the worksheet that goes along with this video, available at dailybellringer.com. Shays Rebellion is going to be the event that will lead the nation to write a new constitution. But in order to understand what happened with Shays Rebellion, we have to go back and take a look at the Articles of Confederation, which was the first constitution of the United States. Under the Articles, the power was divided between the states and the federal government in what's known as a federal system. Now, ideally, this power would be divided equally, but the Articles gave far more power to the states than the federal government. Remember, the founders had just fought a war to get out from under a monarchy, which is a very centralized government, and so they were fearful of giving the federal government too much power. Furthermore, remember, the Articles gave the federal government no authority to collect taxes, and that's going to become a major issue, especially when we see what was happening in western Massachusetts in the mid-1780s, and in particular with a guy named Daniel Shays. Daniel Shays was a veteran of the American Revolution, and he had fought at Bunker Hill and Saratoga. After the Revolution was over, he returned to western Massachusetts to start farming. Shays assumed when he left the military that he would get a pension or get paid by the government for his service in the war. Of course, it was the Continental Congress that was supposed to be responsible for maintaining the military and paying these soldiers, but guess what? They can't collect taxes, so they don't have the money to pay the soldiers. So the Continental Congress asked the states to pay these pensions to the soldiers. Well, the state of Massachusetts decides they have to raise taxes in order to raise money to pay these soldiers' pensions, which, again, guess what? Who's going to pay these taxes? The veterans themselves. So it's a vicious cycle because these farmers in western Massachusetts don't have the money to pay the taxes, so they go into debt and they try to pay their debt, and when they can't pay their debt, the courts order that their farms be taken. Now, think about this from the perspective of Shays and all these veterans. They've just fought a war to get out from under British taxes, and now they're being taxed even more severely from the state, and their farms are being taken away. To say the least, they're very upset. In reaction to these events, farmers decide to take matters into their own hands, and they begin to attack courthouses or at least surround them and not allow the proceedings to take place. In some cases, judges themselves were being attacked and bullied by large mobs. Daniel Shays emerged as one of the leaders of the mob, and by 1785 into 1786, they decided they needed to continue their protest, but not only that, they believed they needed to arm themselves to prepare to fight. On January 25th, 1786, Daniel Shays, along with a mob of close to 1,200 men, marched to Springfield, Massachusetts to capture the arsenal there, which is where weapons were stored. But there in Springfield was the Massachusetts Volunteer Militia under the command of a guy named William Shepherd, with, again, about 1,200 militiamen. Shepherd sent out negotiators and instructed the men with Shays to disperse and leave, but they refused. Then Shepherd ordered the militia to fire a couple of warning shots over the heads of the protesters, but still they would not leave. So Shepherd then ordered the militia to open fire on Shays' men. 2 protesters were killed and 20 were injured, but the mob did break up and disperse. Now for a moment, stop and think about what just happened. We have Americans firing on Americans over taxes. One might argue we had a mini civil war almost breaking out here just a few years after gaining independence. But for now, the uprising was over. There were some attempts to rekindle the rebellion, but it just wouldn't gain any support. Daniel Shays was actually arrested, but was pardoned in 1788 and ended up dying in New York in 1825, basically in obscurity. But his rebellion demonstrated how there needed to be a change, that there needed to be a method for collecting taxes for the federal government, and a method which the federal government could respond to rebellions and uprisings. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.